Hi, so this is a quick video showing you how to take an example answer and dissect it to figure out exactly the different components you need to get excellence in your externals. There are 5 key ingredients. So in this exam question, you need to be able to define your indicator and what it measures, in this case, HDI. You need to be able to explain how it works and shows development between USA and India. So this is the why part and the most important part in your written essay. You have to have geographic terms and concepts, and those need to be throughout your answer. You definitely have to have specific facts and locations, and it's important that you are actually comparing India and the US and why they actually have differences in development. Okay, so for this question, it's asking to fully explain how the Human Development Index demonstrates the differences in development between India and the United States. Okay? Remember, whatever the question asks, that's what you need to actually give them. Okay? The markers are looking for, did you answer the question? Okay? So the first part here is the Human Development Index, uses 3 dimensions and 4 indicators, and I go on to say what those indicators are. And so that is the definition. Highlight that in green. Then it goes on to say the HDI uses multiple indicators, and that's quantitative indicators, so they can be graphed and compared. And that's explaining, right? I've started to explain what the indicator does, how it shows development. Now then I got to say, by using the HDI indicator, we can demonstrate the differences in development between India and the United States. And the very first sentence of this next paragraph is, the United States has a very high level of development compared to India. Okay, so once again, I've told the marker right away that I'm going to explain how it's comparing the 2 countries. Now we need some specifics. So I've written in the specifics of the US scores for HDI. So that's all red. And then most importantly, and you're going to start to see this trend, every time you use a statistic, you got to back it up with an explanation saying, why is that important? How does it show differences in development? And then next we go, the mean years of schooling in the US is just under 13. So once again, that's an example. Right, some stats. And then once again, I have to say, why is that stat important? Right, well, this allows for people to get a decent paying job, receive benefits of having a job, such as additional income, which buys them better food, transportation, and medicine, and helps them live longer. So GNI is an example of a geographic term. $52,000 is obviously evidence compared to. Right, so again, I'm comparing the 2 countries to only 3,000 in India. And once again, I said this shows, right? And as soon as you write those words, it means you're going to explain. So this shows the difference in development clearly because, and so on. So that is the United States paragraph. You're going to do the same thing for India now. And once again, my topic sentence, India is less economically developed country compared to the United States. So I've used the word compare, which is what the marker is looking for. And once again, I got to give them some specifics. And then I said the HDI indicator demonstrates the level of development because it measures the life expectancy. So that is a definition that's saying what it's doing. And then 66 years is a stat. And once again, every time you have a stat, you have to back it up with an explanation saying why is that stat important? How does it show the differences in development? Now, GDP is an example of a geographic term. 3,100 is India's GDP per capita. We know that that's actually gone up in recent years, so it's 4,000 now. And 25% of the population lives in poverty. That's another specific. And just like the other times before, you follow up some evidence with an explanation of the importance. The next section here again is talks about HDI and the importance of it. So that is a definition. You're saying what it measures. And because the whole question is about comparing, there's a few sentences here saying the United States ranks higher in each individual component of the HDI and has an overall higher grade than India. Okay, so that's all comparisons. And then to wrap it up, you say this means the United States has a better education system, which leads to more educated people who go on to get a higher paying job, have access to doctors and medicine, which helps them live longer than people in India. And all of that means more money in the economy, which means the country is more developed. So that's an explanation. All right. Hopefully you found that helpful. The last thing we have to look at for, though, is geographic terms. All right. And concepts. So I've highlighted a few geographic terms such as GNI, GDP. HDI is a geographic term. Urban, rural, all of these things are geographic terms. So many of you use these throughout your answers anyways, but it's important you do so. And finally, your geographic concepts. You need those to get excellence, and you need to be able to show you understand what they mean. And I've used a few in here. So one is accessibility. So the accessibility to healthcare is easier in the United States. The other one that I've used is processes. The idea that one thing leads to another, which leads to another. And the example here would be the more educated a person is, the greater chance of finding a job in an urban city, which provides greater opportunities, including better jobs, more money, and easier access to healthcare, which allows you to work longer, make more money, pay more taxes, and the government can reinvest those taxes back into education and healthcare to make it even better. All right, so your job will be to look at several different example answers, and you're going to have to dissect them and make your own videos